guys, hopefully this is going out live. This is going to be my first Retro Rockets live stream. This is going to be just a series that I can do when I get time to chuck out a stream of an evening or on a weekend or something like that. So at this stage it's not going to have an exact sort of time slot per se. It might not even be on the same day. Yeah, and I'm going to just share the link very quickly, so bear with me a moment. Just hit refresh. Open a new tab. There we go. Let's hopefully I'm live. Okay, so I think it's live. So anyway, yes, I'm going to be live streaming, so I'm going to just swap over to a cool new camera angle here. And it will be, voila, PC cam. This means I can sort of quite easily show you the hardware that I'm playing on physically. So as you can see, the system's not running at the moment. You're just looking at a webcam pointed at the side of the Retro system. This is my main Windows 98 PC, sort of my daily driver, the one that I use all the time. And so this is one that I tend to put the most effort into maintaining and sort of making sure that it plays all the games that I want to play and all that kind of stuff. So you'll notice there's various hard drives in here. So I'm going to explain why. Windows 98 tends to brick itself every now and then when you're just, changing its hardware pretty frequently. So to combat that, I decided, okay, for this series I'm going to be testing different processors, different video cards, things like that, different sound cards. Maybe I might swap back to my ISA Sound Blaster 16 at some point and do some like DOS based gaming. And if I kept doing all of that on the one install of Windows 98, more than likely I'm going to end up bricking it, and that would just be a pain in the ass. So I decided the easiest thing to do is just have multiple hard drives with multiple different Windows 98 installs that all have pretty much the same install with all the same games and all that sort of stuff. And then things that differ are just going to be the drivers for the hardware that's different. So anyway, what is it that you're looking at right now? So again, my main Windows 98 PC running Windows 98 SE, you are looking at a Gigabyte 6VTXD-A motherboard. It is a socket 370S, so it supports the Duality Pentium 3 chips, which is what I've got in there at the moment. It is currently a 1.4 gigahertz Duality, so a nice fast one. It's got 512 single stick of SD RAM, PC 133. Sound card is a Sound Blaster Live original, so the one with the nice gold ports and everything on it, so it's quite nice. I do have a network card in there at the moment, and that's because I have actually found the fastest way to copy files from my main PC over to my Windows 98 PC is to just network share it. So that was a bit of time to set up. In fact, that's probably one stream I'm probably going to do at some point, is talk about how to easily network your Windows 98 PC to your Windows 10 PC so that you can at least have a semi two-way back and forth with files, rather than have to deal with USB drives that sometimes don't want to work or are a bit too slow, especially when you're trying to copy multiple gig ISO files and that kind of stuff. Essentially what I've done is just created a folder on the desktop of my a folder on my Windows 98 PC, and I can see that folder on my Windows 10 PC, and I just drop files that I want into that, and it goes across the network at a much faster speed than USB or whatever. And I just got sick and tired of burning CDs for like stupid drivers that I kept doing. And I have a really nice sort of post-install Windows 98 CD that's like my go-to for my ultimate Windows 98 setup. So it has all of your crucial updates, everything that you need to sort of get Windows 98 up and running for networking, USB support, all the different drivers that I use, the different video cards, everything that I need to. And that way I can just pop in the CD after I've done the Windows install, and then I'm good to go. Now, if you're hearing some humming in the background, there is a helicopter outside that's flying around quite a bit. But anyway, let's get back and jump on board to the system that's here. So the video card, I've not mentioned at the moment, but it is a Geforce 3, an original. Not a TI 200 or TI 500, it is an Elsa Gladiac Geforce 3, 64 meg, and it has an Arctic Silencer cooler on it. Put that on there because one, it fits, and I like my systems to be very quiet, so I have two 80mm fans in the front, two 80mm fans in the back. Christian, I can see your comment, by the way. I'm sitting on the other side of the room, and this is a bit of an oversight. I can't type in chat while I'm sitting over here next to the microphone. Didn't think of that. So I might have to move a keyboard over here so I can at least type back in chat. Rip. Yeah, so I chucked that Arctic Silencer on there because it fit on there quite fine with a bit of spaces and things like that to get it to work. And it means that the whole system runs nice and quiet. So I don't have to worry about having the 80mm fans blaring loud with a tiny little chipset fan that's on there. So it's a relatively quiet system. I think the loudest thing in there is the hard drives. So anyway, let's fire it up and see how it goes. So now you're probably going to hear it because I've got my Yeti microphone set to two-way, and so it's pointed up at me and also then down at the system. So you can kind of hear that as well. So nice green LED fan. And I'm going to swap over to, there we go. So you can actually now see it boot up and go. Okay. So we're just going to play a couple of games and just talk about why I chose the Geforce 3 for my daily driver Windows 98 system. I've gone back and forth between many different video cards and ended up settling on the Geforce 3 just because it seems to meet the resolution and the monitor that I use. It seems to matches with that quite well. Don't worry about the desktop, it'll resize eventually when the drivers kick in. There you go. And it just seems to have the performance that I want for all the games that I want to play without being too new that you end up with a lot of driver issues and things like that. So the main monitor that I'm actually using to play this on is a really nice Sony Trinitron. It is a G520. So this is a really nice flat screen CRT that goes all the way up to 200 Hertz depending on the resolution. It goes all the way up to like 2500 by something crazy resolution, which is not what I'm using it at obviously. So I usually play, when I'm not streaming, I'll actually run it at 1280 by 960. It just seems to be that nice resolution that matches most of the games and makes them look really nice. However, for the streaming, I had to switch it over to 1280 by 1024 because that seems to work a little bit better with the capture card that I'm using. And again, it just sort of plays a bit nicer with that. At those settings, both of those resolutions, I can go all the way up to 100 Hertz, which is what I normally play on. However, again, because of the capture card and the way that it seems to not like very high Hertz or high refresh rates, I've got it capped at 75 Hertz, and that seems to play it a little bit nicer with the capture card. So even though it's only going to be able to stream, I've capped it at 60 frames a second for the actual stream. Having it run at 75 Hertz and locking it in some games means that the gameplay is really nice and smooth without tearing, and then it just, you know, samples that when it goes through and out. So please leave a comment. I will read the comments. Mic seems a bit low in volume. Okay. I have this. I'm going to move back and forward around the microphone. Yes, please tell me if the microphone's a little bit low. Microphone, where are you? Where is the microphone? Settings. Playback, recording. Blue Yeti, there we go. Properties. Levels, advanced. Okay, is that a little bit better? It was set at 70% and I've just dragged it to 100 So please tell me if that's better or it's too loud. I can easily quieten it down if I need to. And then again, I've got the game. I've actually done, before going live right now, I've actually done 3 or 4 different unlisted tests just to sort of play around with the microphone versus the game audio. So now in reality, just tell me if it works or not. So I'm going to jump in and let's just play some Quake 3, I guess, just to sort of get a feel for how this is going to run and how the game audio is going to sound. So please tell me how it's going. And I probably didn't pick the best game for the opening sound, because I know that that sound can be pretty loud when it first boots up. So hopefully that's not too bad for you guys. Now, if you might notice that I'm kind of being a little bit quiet in my talking, that's because my son is asleep. So I'm hoping to not wake him up. So if you, yeah, you get the drift. Anyway. Maybe down to 95. Okay. When I finish this, I'm just going to move back from the microphone a little bit just for this gameplay. So just feel free to tell me if it's not good with the sound, not good with the in-game audio. Hopefully the gameplay is not too much. Now I have, as you can see, capped the frame rate of this to 70, what's supposed to be 75, but for some reason it jumps all up to 77, just to help avoid the tearing, because it ends up tearing pretty badly otherwise. I think my mouse, oh there we go, it's a bit better. Oh, come on. I gotta remember to talk, because I end up forgetting to talk. Keep forgetting that I'm actually live streaming here. Yes, I'm capturing VGA. So the main capture card that I use in this system is an Epiphan DVI to PCIe card. You can Google search it and look it up on the website. I managed to find one on eBay for less than an arm and a leg. Usually they unfortunately go for a few $100s because they are production quality, like studio quality capture cards. So they have a lot of features with their software that are designed for, you know, manipulating on-screen graphics and all that kind of stuff. I originally had a Ava Media, like an old school one that people like LGR and places like that use. However, I found that those cards were limited to, in the most part, 30 FPS, which was a real no-no when it comes to, you know, gaming and stuff. I couldn't put up with that. It was horrible. It's just because to like use the settings that has, it just become impossible. So this software allows for up to, depending on the resolution, like if it's 1024 by 768, it'll capture like 100 FPS and spit it out. So it is a very nice capture card for retro and getting high frame rate and also quality. The other thing that was kind of like the software for this can do horizontal, vertical, phase and hertz adjustments down to the pixel level which means that, for example, if I swap between different games and different resolutions and different hertz, you can just preset it so that when it goes to a certain resolution, it uses a certain adjustment to make sure that the video footage that it's capturing is still in frame. So right now I think I've got this one like set at like -18 horizontal and +8 vertical, just to try to get it to stay in frame. It's not perfect because the system's not perfect, but yeah, it's better. And then I'm using, yeah, concentrating quite a bit. Then I'm using just OBS. Seem to be in the better actual software for solution. Cool. So, let me read the rest of the things. Actually, it's fine, isn't it? It's like, great form can be adjusted upwards, like 15%. Okay, I left the game volume down just a bit because I've set that input on OBS for the game to be a little bit quieter, because some games are louder than others. So I didn't want to like jump in and have it blaringly loud, so I'll jump over and we'll do some Quake 2 just to see how that's going. Yeah, I missed Quake 3. Bump the microphone there. I played Quake Live before it shifted over to Steam when it was still in browser. I played that religiously for multiple years. I could not get away from the Quake franchise, and rather than go to Quake 4, or to be honest, I was like looking for Quake Champions, looking forward to Quake Champions, and then it just didn't really. Oh god, I have not set this up properly. What is going on here? Why are we not? Oh, I'm an idiot. Okay, that's better. All right, controls. This is actually a new install of Quake 2, so I haven't actually played it yet. That's a bit better. Hey, there we go. Make sure capture screen is actually working. I'm just going to adjust. So I've got in my lap like a little headphone toggle, so I can turn the game audio down just for myself as well, without it interfering with you guys. But yeah, I played Quake Quake Live for the longest time. I love their holiday events, like the snowball events and stuff that they did. Yeah. But Quake 2 was like my jam back in the days. Good old computer updated. Funny story, I actually have computer updated as my phone's message tone. It used to be the most annoying thing in the world when I was playing this back in the day, hearing that all the time for every little objective update, and then I ended up making it my ringtone. It's funny because at work there's a couple of old school guys that are like my age and a bit older, and they know what it was. So every now and then when I accidentally leave my phone, oh god, die, Jesus Christ. When I leave my phone on and I get a message or something, they're like, "Oh, Quake Boy's back." And I know I missed half the weapons there, but yeah. Oh no, it's the other end that has the stuff. What am I doing? Go away. But yeah, so I end up picking the Geforce 3. Pretty much because I can get whatever the frame rate I want at, you know, the 100 Hertz in older games, like your late 90s games. It struggles with anything newer than 2002 to get sort of more than 30 FPS in some situations at like 1280 by 960, or you know, this resolution. But it's good enough to play. You know, we'll jump in and we can have a game of Unreal Tournament 2003 in a minute. So it plays games sort of that new quite well. The biggest holdback or drawback of those games is the bots are meant to be rendered on faster CPUs, so their ability to render a lot of bots drastically limits the frame rate, which sucks, but there's not much you can do about that. I originally ran a Geforce 2 Ti 64MB card for the longest time, which is very comparable to this card in a lot of situations. Like, the frame rate difference is margin of error. In some situations, probably in a game like this, it's, you know, not much in it. Now again, this game is locked at 80, I think it's like 84, but yeah, it's locked, got a locked frame rate by the way, which is why it's stuck. But again, hopefully you guys are seeing it a pretty decent frame rate as well. But I've got a lot of different games on here, so if you guys have some suggestions for things, if I've got something at all, I can even run some benchmarks. I've got different different versions of 3D Mark on here. I've got I think I've also got, what are some of the other ones I've got? I forget. But yeah. I ran a 1 gig P3 for the longest time, and that's where I really ran into issues with like games like Unreal Tournament, even, you know, Unreal Tournament 99 for example, playing bot matches in that. You ran into CPU limitations really quickly when you start playing, you know, games where you have to generate all the bots and they're, you know, churning out. Especially when you get the higher skill levels. The calculations and stuff that they're doing are just, yeah, the CPU struggles a bit, so ended up swapping to this and haven't looked back. I have got a bit of a funky project I'm going to do some live streaming with at some point, is I actually have a socket 754 AGP motherboard, and I've got at some point hopefully a nice special, oh god you idiot, nice special CPU that I'm going to use with that thing that's not a normal desktop CPU, and not technically a mobile chip either, so that'll be a nice test to see how a let's say clock for clock newer CPU compares to the Pentium 3. I also used a Quadro 980 GXL for a while as well, that had really nice DVI output. Like the quality of the images and stuff were just that little bit nicer, slightly, for capturing, but when it came down to like fast-paced gaming and stuff, you didn't really notice or make much of a difference. All of them. All right. Oh, I missed the secret. I'm an idiot. All right, let me just read some stuff. PS1 version. Wow. See, I have Quake 2 as well for Nintendo 64. Surprisingly not bad. It's definitely a different version of the game, so it has different levels and different stuff like that. So it definitely feels a lot more like a console game rather than a straight port from Quake 2 over to console. It definitely feels like it was remade from the ground up. There's some stuff that I like about it that I kind of wished was in this version, the PC version of the game, but yeah, its frame rate was horrible. It runs at like 20 FPS on the Nintendo 64. Like that, you can tell that the game was, the visuals were really, you know, pushing the limit of that hardware. Thanks, love. I always play some racing games and stuff as well. I think what I might do. Underscore max. Oops, what I wrote? Max. If I can write FPS 909. Oh, what's the? No, it's CL, isn't it? Yeah, there we go. So now let's see. Quake 2 Unleashed. Let's see if the tearing is really bad. I'm watching my stream. I've actually got a live view. I'll have to show you my setup one day, but it's not too bad actually. Yeah, that's not too bad. But anyway, what I wanted to do is demo map. Alrighty. Why? I thought I put the Crusher map on there. Right. Okay, maybe not. Anyway, fine. The Crusher and Massive one maps that I use for benchmarking in Quake 2 are like crazy when you unlock the frame rate. It's just shit goes everywhere. So it's a good question, Christian. My rule of thumb is if you're looking at playing anything DOS era, as well as games that are around the late 90s to early 2000s, that are sort of your even up to XP era, something around Geforce 256 will get you some of the way at lower resolutions for modern games, but also still have good backwards compatibility. However, you, depending on the game, if you know what the game is, or the specific games, or whichever that you're looking at running, you could get away with running. I'm just trying to think here. Is if you have an older PCI card for those DOS games, something like Citrus Logic or something of that nature or that era to run those older games, or and then run like a Voodoo 2, for example. So then you got your pass through to your slightly faster 3D card as well. But really, it depends on the games you're talking about. I'm not too familiar with earlier DOS games. They're kind of out of my realm of expertise. But if you wish to jump, if you look at the comments, the description of this video, we have our Pixel Talk Discord. If you're not already in there, feel free to jump in there, because we've got some pretty brainiac people in there that are much more knowledgeable with that era of stuff than what I am. Oh, not Racker, Tracker. Thank you very much. There we go. UFO. One of my good old favourite games, Revolt. Probably what I love the most about playing this game is the the track editor allows you to do some hilarious tracks. Oh, damn it, almost made it up there. But yeah, the track editor on this game is pretty fun. Straight over the oil. Oh, damn it. So when I finish this race, I'm going to jump out and do some slightly older games as well, because I've got turn around, bugger, Duke Nukem 3D and some games like that. There we go. So I just wanted to see how that was actually going on. This is one of the games I didn't test with the stream, so hopefully it's okay. Now I'm going to have to... Oh, actually, you know what I might do? I'm going to go the other way first. I'm going to jump in at 2. One recommendation if you're building a Windows 98 PC, always give yourself 2 CD drives, because not just for the games, I have a lot of physical games, originals. So I'm basically going through and just hot swapping discs in and out, and then if I have a regular game that I'm playing through, I'll just keep it in a secondary drive, for example. So there we go. Now the frame rate of this is probably going to break a little bit, but let's chuck it in and see. Okay. Good old disk media loading times, hey? NVIDIA, the way it's meant to be played. I have to make sure that... Okay, so that resolution did work. Great. Mouse is a bit laggy, but that's okay. So I'm going to set everything to the highest just to sort of show you where the limitations of this card really are. There we go. We'll jump into my favourite testing map. No, so we're going to go with 7 bots, so it's 8 of us in total. Make that 5, 6 of us in total. I think at this resolution that might have been a bit too much. It may not have wanted to do much more than 10 frames a second otherwise. 2003 runs a little bit nicer than 2004. 2004 added some extra oh yeah, right, I've got low gravity mutators on. 2003 is like the raw version of 2004 before they added all the extra assault stuff, you bastard. Oh god, that frame rate really tanks when you zoom in. Oh my god. This frame rate's too low for me to... He's just given up on me. See, I'm just that bad, he gave up on me. It actually feels really hard to play at less than 60 frames a second. Especially with the aiming with the lightning gun. But yeah, so that's what it's like running at maximum settings. So if we just turn this down a little bit, highest prefers you to have 128 meg of GPU memory, by the way. If you don't, it will then go into system memory if you use that. 64 meg cards tend to like high and lower because they use less system memory. And hopefully I haven't just, yeah, there we go. Character again I'll set to high. That's going to chuck a hissy fit. Turn off physics as well because of that again, or lower it because it will drastically help with CPU utilization. And I think we'll just leave it there. And the frame rate has changed very little. You might notice it feels a bit smoother, and that's because it's maybe added about 5 to 10 or so frames on average. But it is just enough to make it just that little bit more smoother, where your minimums, your sort of 1% lows and stuff are just a bit nicer. It's not as like stuttery to play now. I guess we'll swap over the lightning gun and... yeah, no, still tanks. Oh, yep. So you can pretty much get away with... now, the frame rate, it's not the GPU struggling to render the game, it is the CPU struggling to render all the bots in conjunction with the game. Oh. Oh, come on. Yeah, so you get an idea of what it's like to play this game. It's really not the greatest. Yes, I'm using a Sound Blaster, not an X-Fi, that's a bit too new. It's an original Sound Blaster Live. So before the 5.1 came out. So it's a period accurate, I would say, relatively accurate. Interesting fraps, why have you kept that up there. Right, well, let's jump into... Now I'm going to have to swap. Where is... Let's take the disk for Revolt out. This is very interactive for a live stream, is me flicking through a CD wallet. CDs. Yeah. Interesting. Why has that crashed? See, this is the other finicky thing to do with Windows 98. This was literally working like yesterday, and for some reason it's just not. I wonder if it has to do with the setup. It's probably just not liking. Yes. Whoa. That is having a heart attack on me. Wow, that is really chucking a fit. Something's not working properly there. Nope. That was right. That was right. Sound setup, choose music. No, I want to go Wave Blaster specifically because it just makes... Something is really not working there. Divided by 0. Wow. Literally nothing has changed, and I played the game yesterday. So, there you go. Let's go none. Should work, I don't understand why it's not. Nothing, literally nothing has changed. That is chucking a fit at me. For those of you who are in chat, just typing just by the way, technically I can read the chat. It's on the other side of the room and there's a bit of an oversight. I don't have a keyboard on my desk that has the retro PC, so I can read it. It's not directly in front of me. I have to turn to the left to see it, and I can't type in chat from here. I have to move. Just bear with me while I read through some of the comments here, because you've got a few long ones. Yeah. Okay, so you're replying to Christian. Okay, yeah, so my go-to for a Windows 98 PC is always going to be a early generation Geforce. ATIs are just as good in certain situations, but their drivers, which is kind of a common... I don't know what's happening with Duke Nukem 3D. I might have to just reinstall it. For some reason, it's just chucking a hissy fit. It worked yesterday fine, so rip. Good old pinball. Morrowind, Age of Empires. So you can see I've got a few different games on here. Oh, I'm not. Again, I don't have the disc in, so is it going to ask me for it or not? No, good. I forget whether it did or not. I will always go for a Geforce, an early Geforce card for Windows 98. The drivers, if you get like 23 dot something or the 40 dot something, I don't remember the exact ones, they just seem to work. You have to enable cool bits to enable VSync control, so you can manually turn it off. But it means that you just don't end up with the weird driver issues that ATI have. So I've tried my 8500, I've tried my 7500, I've tried my 7200, I even tried my Rage Fury Max and my Rage 128 Pro, and they all worked for games around, give or take, the year that that card came out. As soon as you stretch beyond that, they fall apart, and the performance is just, it just either tanks, or the games just are not compatible, and they just give me way too many errors to deal with. The other part of that is that the ATI cards don't play very well with capture cards. They never have. I know Nathan from Pixel Pipes has run into this as well, when I basically sent him to a link to get one of the Ava Media capture cards, the one that he has. I think he's still using that. That thing was just a nightmare with ATI cards earlier than a certain point, and yeah, I do know that. It's just giving me an excuse to sit here and talk for a few minutes, so bear with me. Because if I start playing, I'm probably going to lose my train of thought and then I'll forget to talk. So, yeah. Oh god, that frame rate. I'm going to... What is it set to? Yeah, so set to that. Let's just drop it down a little bit for the sake of it. And resume game. Now let's see this totally break the stream. It should resize, because another really cool thing about... Yeah, there you go. Oh, but it hasn't centered it. Okay, I have to fix that. Hang on. Let me fix it. Let me fix it. That's fine. Oh, it's looking for permanently not fix it. Why are you not fixing it? Okay, yep. It's not fixed it because that's actually what it looks like on my monitor for some reason. Yeah, there we go. It's not worked properly. I should have left it. Anyway, Half-Life things. And yeah, there we go. But yeah, ATI cards have slightly superior image quality. So if you get like an 8500 or even a 9000, like a 9550 or something, which are pretty cheap and pretty powerful, and you use them in Windows 98, you get some really good image quality, especially if you're wanting to capture footage and things like that of, you know, your very late 90s, early 2000s games. But step outside of that age range of games and the drivers shit themselves. The Geforce ones just work, which is, you do get, I think Phil did a video, I think within the last 2 years, where he actually went through and tested different NVIDIA driver versions to see which ones would, which ones are the best to use for Windows 98. And I think he came to the very similar conclusion that I did. It depends on the card, and usually the drivers that are out about 12 months after the card was released are the best, because they're the drivers that are most mature, covers the games that are of that era, or of that generation, the best, and the performance has been optimized. If you get release drivers, or drivers that are 2 years later, especially if they're from the next generation of hardware, because the cards just, they came out so quickly then. You know, you went through, hey Mr. G-Man, we would go through less than 12 months with generation to generation, especially the, you know, late 90s to early 2000s. So driver upkeep was pretty terrible across the board. However, the Geforce ones tend to have the most consistency, especially considering the architecture from GeForce 256 all the way up to the Geforce 4 really didn't change a huge amount. They tacked on some more pipelines and things like that, but the core architecture really didn't change a huge amount. They obviously added new instructions and you know, bits and pieces for DirectX and stuff, but so the driver consistency between the 256 up to a Geforce 4 is pretty good. When you jump up to FX, that's where you start running into some issues with older games. Yeah, so I tried a FX 5200 and my 5950 Ultra, and both of them worked really well for early 2000s, but they fell off a cliff when you got to older games, especially at higher resolutions and stuff. And by that I mean their performance wasn't better than a Geforce 3 or a Geforce 4, for example. It just wasn't worth it. You know what? You raise a good point. Oops. One. Let's try. And hopefully it doesn't break the game again. It looks like we got full screen capture. Oh, and we got our thing back. Hey! Thank you for that tip. To be honest, I have not played much of Half-Life 1 on this particular card because the last time I did the playthrough I was actually using my Voodoo 2s. So, yeah. Yes, I do use the Omega drivers for the Radeons, however they also have their limitations as well. This does actually run much nicer than DirectX. I should have. Oh. I wonder if that's being picked up on stream. Kind of. When I'm when I'm doing this, I'm seeing a really weird flickering of textures. Oh, not flickering, but a weird crossover in the corners of the tiles. Sorry. It's not showing up on stream. Yes, greetings. Little baby. Half-Life 3. His child grows up. And we play as Gordon Freeman's son. Or daughter, I guess we can't really tell. Geez, glitch out there much. In the barrel today. So I used my Geforce 256 when I was running of course. Where? There's a setting to enable console. Man, I'm having a brain fart. Maybe you can remind me, because console's not working, and I'm pretty sure it's not in audio, is it? No, just having a content control. Lol. I could have swore that it was in I'm not going blind, am I? Also, no thanks. I could have swore there was an option to enable console. Oh yes, okay, yeah, thanks. Let's just do this. So we don't. All right, what I say is on. Just think, wow. Yeah, let's fix the frame rate. It should be a bit smoother like that. Yeah. See, I already have this set up in there as well. So, right. The reason I do that is because it was playing up with. Oh, there we go. Cool, that did work. Yeah, cool. Lol. Awesome console. Yeah, the resolution was playing up before when I was testing it, and so one of the tips that it gave me was to try. It is an original Geforce 3. Oh no! For some of you who have joined the stream a bit late, I'll show you the system that I'm using. Glorious PC cam. It is an original Geforce 3. Oops, bumped the mic. It's an Elsa Gladiac 920, so not a TI 200 or TI 500. It's the original, 64 meg of RAM, and it is using an Arctic silencer on it just to help with the sound side of it. So yeah, 1 gig to Alatine, 1.4 gig to Alatine, 512 SD PC133 RAM, and an original Sound Blaster live, and a network card. So for those of you who have joined that weren't actually watching it previously, Windows 98 tends to brick itself every now and then, and surely, why did that load into that save? Why did we not save? Okay, whatever. We'll just skip through this shit again. Windows 98 tends to brick itself when you're changing video cards a lot, so I have different hard drives in there to... Yeah, I know, needs more cold cathodes. I have different drives in there for different OSs, so when I swap in and out video cards, I don't have to worry about bloody drivers or any shit like that. I'd basically just swap the hard drives over, and it's got, I've got the one underneath the one that's plugged in now, so the bottom drive, that's my ATI one. Yes, I know the PC cam's on, sorry. I'll swap over. I'm just sitting on the console anyway on Half-Life 2, so... the bottom one is ATI install, top one is NVIDIA, and then the two at the very top are actually older versions of 98. The very, very top one is Voodoo 1 with GeForce 256, and the one below it is GeForce 2 Ti with my pair of Voodoo 2s. So I can just swap between them all depending on what cards I want to run. So it just makes it so much easier to, I don't have to worry about dealing with drivers, uninstalling and stuff, and bricking, because I had way too many issues of the systems bricking themselves. So there we go. Let's just jump back to this. So I always forget. Hey, she taps out at 100. There we go. But the tearing. See, yeah, the system's, the capture card's struggling with that a little bit. Yeah, that's better. You guys are still seeing the tearing compared to what I'm seeing, so yeah. It's 70. This is actually probably going to be the best setting. Yeah, so that's much nicer from what I, as in, not what I'm feeling here. It's what I'm looking at on the stream capture from what the raw capture that the capture card's doing. It seems to like this a little bit better than a higher frame rate. It tends to really screw up when you get a bit too high. Oh yeah, right, I'm an idiot. I forgot that you got to get this first. Ah. What's unique about this? Yes, this is the original Geforce 3, so it is inferior to the 200 and 500. Well, technically it's not inferior to the 200. It's actually in between the two of them. So the 200 is the lowest, then there's the Geforce 3, then the Geforce 3 500 in terms of performance. So it's kind of smack bang in the middle. But it did come out first. Essentially the 200 was designed to compete with ATI's 7500, whereas the Geforce Radeon 8500 was to compete with this card, which NVIDIA then was like, hell no, hold my beer, here's our TI 500, and pretty much just ATI was like, oh shit. How did I not touch the ladder there? Oh my god. How did I not hit the ladder there? That's a fail and a half. Alright. I'm gonna do it the slow way this time. Yeah, greetings. Yep, yep, yep. So the original Xbox is designed off the Geforce 3 architecture, the same as what's in this card, yes. It's cut down, so its performance is probably more in line with probably the TI 200 in terms of its raw performance, but it is technically was developed off the same architecture as the Geforce 3. I actually have an older gameplay video on my channel that's Doom 3 running on a Geforce 3. Because Doom 3 was essentially being designed and developed at the same time as when the Geforce 3 came out, and so NVIDIA paired with id Software to actually make sure that Doom 3 ran really, really well and took advantage of the pixel shaders and stuff in the Geforce architecture. Come on, guys. I don't know about highly trained and I don't know about professional, but sure. Ah, dear me. An original Xbox is the one console I'm missing out of my old ones. I have an original PlayStation 1, 2, 64, Nintendo 64. I don't have a SNES or a NES, or a GameCube for that matter, because, well, why would you? Oh, I guess that's unfair, they weren't too bad. Not as bad as the Wii U, I guess. But Nintendo 64 was era of consoles. I mean, technically the SNES was, because I had mates in primary school that had PS1 and SNESes, but we ended up getting a 64. So I have quite a collection of games still. It's still my original Nintendo 64 actually. I collected a few games since having that as an adult, but yeah, pretty much 90% of my time playing that console was just in GoldenEye or San Francisco Rush, because that game was also awesome. If you see me pause in game and not talk for a minute, it's because I'm turning my head and reading the comments. Now, if it's 11:45 midnight here, my son tends to sometimes stir and wake up around midnight. I think my wife said she's going to be probably waking up to put him to bed if he happens to wake back up. But if I suddenly start whispering or going a bit quiet, it's because of that. Hopefully he doesn't. Come on. Oh, I'm an idiot. I'm sitting here jumping around like a retard and I forgot I got to do a job. There we go. Oh shit. Shit hit the fan. Isn't there like a trick in like the speed runs where you go from like up here and you like do a momentum jump off the rail and jump through that tiny little window up the top? I'm pretty sure I've seen a Games Done Quick speed run where someone does that. My skill level's definitely not going to let me do anything that good. Okay. Hey. What is this? A late night poker game? It has been a long time since I've actually done a full playthrough of the first Half-Life. I think, especially the original version of the game, I think the last time I played it would have been the Half-Life Source version. Oh, I need the... Was I supposed to pick up something? Pretty sure I was supposed to pick up something, right? I say that like I probably totally... Isn't that like a crowbar? I say that like I'm not a PC gamer and don't know what it is, but I can't remember where it is that I actually meant to pick it up. Which sounds like blasphemy. Must be up here still. I'm just an idiot. Oh no, you've got to open it for me. No? Yes. Yeah, I thought so. I'm a retard. Again, it's been so long since I played this. Played Half-Life 2 a few months ago. But yeah, mostly I actually play play Source if I feel like jumping back in and playing some Counter-Strike. Otherwise, it's Counter-Strike usually. You guys are dead. No, isn't there like shit that I can... Oh, yeah, I'm going down there. Oh, that sound. What's up, bro? Hey. You shoot me in the back, bruh? Gladly. Oh, I forgot I could microwave one of them in the face. No, it's not letting me through. Oh, right, yeah. I forgot about that. Die! Thank you for the gun. So close, but so far. Oops. Come on. Jump through. Thank you. Oh yeah, right. Whoops. Get your sonic booms out of here. No. Crouch, jump for life. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just reading through the comments. Cool. Die. Die, please. I'm just being a bit quiet because my son is just stirring a little bit. I'm pretty sure there's also a speed run way to actually jump down here where you sort of strafe glide off of the edge, but man, it's been a while since I've had to do strafe gliding at all. You guys are really not great on your feet. Oh, Jesus. Crazy guys. actually hit me through the box. Oh, just. Almost made it. There we go. If you hit the jump just right, you can just make it off there. I thought that opened. So, yeah, the original Xboxes are kind of quite nice to keep it like, wow, I'm just standing there endlessly using that. I don't need to. Mate of mine that I used to live with for a while in a flat had an original Xbox. We used to have like Halo nights. That was pretty awesome. Yep, thank you. Do I just go back the way I came? No. Yeah, I miss having those original Halo nights. It was GoldenEye before that, then it was Halo. Whoa, that was not great. Let's try that again. There we go. Oh, forgot how much overshoot this has. Minor fracture detected. I was supposed to say, isn't this backwards? No, I'm going the right way. There we go. God, it's been so long since I played this. Alright. Oh. Yeah, I think my son just woke up for a bit. Alright. I'm going to save this here. I'm going to jump into something a bit different. Actually, here's a good idea. Oops. Yeah, there we go. That's what I want to do. Where's the disk for this? We could play Sonic Adventures, but I would like to continually have some people watching the stream. It's a pretty rough game. Play. There we go. Alright, let's see if it's going to autoplay. Oh, yes, no, yes, no. Probably not. Why? I have no idea why that GP3 splash screen just came up. Because that's not the disc that I put in. It was the GTA Play disc. That's weird. Oh, the intro. Classic. Should I leave it to play through? I think I will. Just for the nostalgia's sake of it, I reckon. Ah, such a good game. So I remember a mate of mine showing me, I I think it might have been GTA 2 at the time, and I was like, oh god, this is an awesome game. And then around the time when I got my first PC, GTA 3 came out, and so between CS, GTA 3 and Unreal Tournament and Quake 3, that's like where all my gaming time went. And then Command & Conquer Generals come out, and then we just played Generals for ages. So Vice City runs very similar to this version, to GTA 3, but I don't know, GTA 3 just has a bit more personal nostalgia to me, so I tend to usually jump to this. What? I was asking for the second one. I did put the play disc in, but for some reason it's asking for the install disc again. Okay. Why? No, thank you. No, you know what it is? I think it's been very... It's been very drive picky, and I think I might have installed the game using the other CD drive. So it's being as fussy as hell. Again, this is a game that I played like yesterday. Oh, it's having a heart attack on me. Okay, there we go. Thank you. No. Widescreen, no. Frame sync now. I'm going to turn frame sync off and keep the limiter on just for the moment, because the sorry, let's go back. Thank you. There we go. Oh, you guys are probably seeing that in a really horrible resolution. Mustache, yeah. Alrighty, start a new game. There we go. The physics of this game, when you get a really fast, I say really fast, but when you have a rather fast system, the physics of this game tend to break if you turn the frame limiter off. The people that do speedruns of this game turn it off because they intentionally glitch it out, and this is one of the few games. Yeah, everyone's seen that. This is one of the few games that speedrunning this is most optimum on very specific hardware. But yeah, this game runs, I mean, 30 FPS is nice. You don't have to use. So if we turn it off, back, resume. Like, there you go. You can see it sort of getting a bit faster and slower. It gets really glitchy after a while. So turn off frame sync and keep frame limiter on. Whoa. Come on, we need flashback. Oh, actually, copyright. Totally didn't think of that when I'm used to obviously playing this, not live streaming it, so I usually just play flashback because I'm old. It actually has decent music on it. Yeah, I think the frame rate issue was broken all the way up until GTA 5. As in, all the way up to 4 it was still broken, then I think with 5 it fixed it. It comes down to the way that the physics are being bound to the engine speed. It's a real lazy, cheaty way of programming game physics, and obviously back in the day you had to cut costs for shit like this. I mean, this was the first 3D version of GTA, so I totally understand it, and I'm going the wrong way completely, but whatever. And I'm probably going to roll the car, and I don't want to. But I mean, by the time GTA 4 came out, you had Vice City, San Andreas. They could have easily fixed it in 4, but they didn't. But to be fair, 3 is not too bad. If you can play it at a constant 30, like as in if your GPU is good enough to do it, 30's fine for this game. It gets a bit crazy when you're playing some of the missions where we have a lot of enemies. I'll save you from the boring interactions. But yeah, this so nostalgic, this game. But again, another reason why I picked the Geforce 3. You know, it can handle games like this at the resolutions and stuff that this monitor. You know what? I'm going to get a different car because this one's about to die on me. Not yet. There we go. For those of you who... Oh god, she chased me. Did she legit chase me? Oh god, and this car's almost gonna blow up. Oh, I've got to stay in that car. Oh, she's in that car already. No? I thought it said get a car. I didn't know you had to stay with this particular car. Oh, rough. My wife is pregnant again with our second. Not sure I've said that in a video yet. I know the guys in Discord, the guys I'm usually chatting with and hanging out with, they know already. So exciting times ahead. Busy, sleep deprived times ahead. But thankfully my son is loving daycare these days, so he's now doing 4 days a week daycare, which is great. Hey. Now to go and save before I kill myself and have to start all over again, because this game tends to like to do that. Cool. Buy an even minivan? We're only going to have 2 kids, so no. 2's fine. we have a Forester, so a Forester is plenty big enough for the four of us. Isn't there a run button? Is it? Hey. I remember the most annoying thing about this game was that fast car, must get fast car, must get, oh my god, there we go, must get fast car. Thank you. You got flames, bro, and a V8. Oh, okay, I'm gonna turn my in-game, oh god, go, 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 go. As long as I don't have to start selling any of my retro hardware, I'm great. Let's do the trick shot. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Yep, nope, stop. Nope. Oh, the physics of this game. You can like tap a pole, knock it over, but if you hit that pole at like ridiculous speeds at the wrong angle, your car just breaks. Oh, that's definitely not fast enough. Oh, you're gonna have to try it from down here, I think. This game, like the humor in this game as well, is so funny. They dialed it up a notch for Vice City and it got a little cringy. Hey. Don't think we're gonna make the train lines. No. A stunt bonus, 5 grand. That's the quickest way to get in-game currency, by the way, is at the start of the game. If you want to buy weapons and guns and shit, by the way, just literally go and do a couple of stunts and you end up with like 10 grand. That and there's like money littered around the map anyway, and I think there's even, yeah. Oh god, boxes. Boxes are like, oh my god, what? What are these boxes made of? Oh my god. Alright, let's head to... Look, boxes are like stronger than people. Yeah, it is here. I thought so. The camera. Yeah, I was saying before, the annoying thing that I didn't really like about this game is the loading in and out of frame of vehicles. Yeah, Christian, it does. I started out this channel. I don't start the channel. I started out my collecting years before I started this channel, and my goal was to literally just collect my own personal history of video cards. That was the original goal when I was, because I just happened to still have a X1950 XTX Crossfire Edition card. I had that still, and I had my Voodoo 2s, and I had one other card. I mean, I think I still had a couple of more modern cards in it, but I had like 5 cards, and I was like, you know what? I would like to buy a 6800 Ultra, because the one that I had back in the day died on me prematurely and I never got a chance to really, you know, use that card to its full potential and play all the games that I wanted to play on it. So I started looking for a 6800 Ultra, got exceptionally lucky and found an AGP, a very rare AGP Ultra Extreme, which is the ones that got like limited quantity released from like a handful of board partners, and the only thing that makes it extreme, by the way, is the fact that it has a 450 clock speed on the core instead of 425, which is actually even faster than the PCI Express versions, because most of the reference versions of those were 400. So there's quite a bit of difference between the AGP and the PCI Express one, but the PCI Express cards made up the difference, given the higher bandwidth anyway. And I was just driving around aimlessly, by the way. But anyway. Did he just jump? Did that guy try to do an insurance fraud on me? And like literally jump in front of my car? Take his car and get it resprayed. Can do. So yeah, I bought a 6800. Oh, I should probably turn the radio off in the options, hey. Oh, nope, 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 nope. Surely there's a way to turn this off, right? I thought there was a way to turn it off. Okay, I guess not. Anyway, yeah, found a really nice 6800 Ultra, and then it just never stopped, and now I have over 200 cards. So it progressed from my own personal history, and then along the way I was like, oh, here's some other cards that I would love to test along, you know, because I had a couple of mates. I had one mate that the same guy that I actually ended up living with, he and I bought the same Geforce 4 Ti 4800 SE. That was my first ever add-in card, you know, that wasn't integrated. My first integrated was Geforce 2 MX, actually proper 3D card, because technically I had a 2D card in my 486 machine, but I mean I wasn't really into hardware then, so I didn't know much about hardware. I just knew I had a really nice Sound Blaster sound card. But yeah, so I had mates that had like ATI when I had NVIDIA, and so yeah, I had that thought where I was like, okay, I made these specific choices along my history of cards. You know, I went with a 9600 XT at some point, and I was like, I literally had the option to buy a standard 9700, but it was like $100 more at the time, or whatever it was at the time, and I chose not to do that because I wanted to buy another kit of RAM or something else like that at the same time, so I didn't. So I was like, okay, I have the same, you know, I have this 9600 XT, why don't I get a 9700, and you know, would that have made a difference? What was I missing out on, or you know? And that was the thought process. And so then it went from video cards to motherboards, CPUs, and RAM, and so now I've got a built-in wardrobe beside me with a 5-drawer tall boy stacked to the brim with video cards, stacked on top of it to the top of the built-in wardrobe full of video cards, and then I've got 6 chassis in there that are full built systems as well. Yeah. Oh, plus 7, because then I've got this Windows 98 one as well on the floor. Oh, plus my main PC, I guess, but that doesn't really count as a collectible item. So yeah, I've got a lot. I have every Geforce from the 256 up to the Titan. In terms of flagships, sorry, not every one obviously, but every flagship, and a few in between. So, you know, your few notable mid-range cards like 6600 GT, etc. And then I have like a few different variations of it. So I got really lucky, and an e-waste place here in Australia had 2 brand new inbox 512 meg 6800 ultras. They were lead tech ones, and they had them for $20 Australian each, and this was 2017, and I was like, just before Christmas, I'm like, oh, it was my birthday recently, why don't I treat myself and get a 512 meg card, thinking, it's $20, who cares. This is before the retro boom of that era of hardware took off. I was like, oh, what the hell, I'll buy one. And then I'm like, oh yeah, right, I can SLI. Okay. So the other one sat there on eBay for 3 months and no one bought the second one. And I was like, okay, I need to buy a motherboard, I need to buy a CPU, I need to buy some RAM to, kit out this SLI system. And then I'm like, all right, cool, hasn't been bought, so I bought the second one then. And I look back at that now and go, holy shit, was I lucky that no one sniped that second one. Because, man, that would not last in this, the current, landscape of retro collecting. That thing wouldn't have lasted 5 minutes. Even here in Australia, cards like that are just very hard to come by. We have a very harsh environment, and because the majority of our oh right, there's already a car in there, I'm an idiot. Because the majority of our population is around the sea, so many of our cards get rusted and they don't survive. The vast majority of my collection has come from UK, notable for my few very good condition cards. The US, probably for the bulk of my, not holy grail cards, but like the filler cards, I guess you can say, the ones were like, oh, that's cheap, I'll buy it. And then actually Latvia, Russia, Ukraine for all of my more harder to find cards. And actually from Greece as well. And 1 or 2 from Germany. There's a couple of collectors in Greece and Germany that I have communicated back and forth with quite a few times, and they usually hit me up with a few cards. They have my like holy grail list essentially, and if they get anything that's on that list, they usually send me an email and say, hey, is this something you're interested in? And usually it's not, because I already have some of the cards, but there's been a few that I got really lucky with. My 5950 Ultra, FX 5950 Ultra, I scored a pretty much mint condition Gigabyte GT model, so it's the FX 5950 Ultra GT, which has the special software that goes with it that allows it to overclock and increases voltage slightly, and it pretty much ends up being the fastest FX card in production. It has a special BIOS revision that when you run that software, it allows it to clock up to, I actually don't remember what it is off the top of my head, but it's good enough that it like leapfrogs a 9800 Pro pretty substantially in certain games, which is quite nice. But yeah, that card, like for example, I paid a small fortune for that. It was something like 300 and something Australian dollars, but man, it was, definitely worth it, considering there was people in the US trying to sell, just standard reference 5950 Ultras for like $500 US at the time, and I was like, yeah, no thanks. And that generation is so hit and miss with cards working. Never ended up finding a 5800 Ultra, but not fussed. It's not really a card that I ever highly desired. It's not one that I have any personal attachment with. It's like, if I manage to find one for like less than $300, I might pick it up if it's in working condition, but yeah. At this stage, you know, priorities. I can't, don't, especially with the flakiness of 5800 Ultra, I cannot see myself spending the current market value of a 5800 Ultra on a 5800 Ultra, because the risk of even putting it in the system once and it bricking itself is just too high. There are unfortunately a couple of people in the retro community that have caused the pricing of that card to go through the roof, and it sucks because it's definitely probably 10 times over what it's should be worth, I guess you could say. There's just two particular buyers that ended up, you know, someone listed the card for, you know, bid only or whatever, and then they drove the prices up to like over $1,000 US, and that's just stupid. Oh, I need to honk the horn. Which is the horn button? I need to... I can never remember which is... Oh god, the game's having a heart attack again. It does this because the CD... Nope, it's totally locked up. Oh no, there we go. I heard the CD spin up. Oh, did I change that to classic? Yeah, I want standard. Oh, shift. Yeah, there we go. Alright, I'm gonna, while she's getting the car, I'm gonna read some comments, try and catch up a little bit here. If you had a 9500 when it came out, you were sweet. The 9500 is probably one of ATI's greatest cards for that era, especially the fact that you can flash it to a 9700 if you got the right version. And not only that, like it might not have had the complete guts without it flashed, like the raw horsepower to last as long as the 97 did, but if you flashed it to a 9700, you could pretty much wait until like an X, you know, the X1900 generation to upgrade, because its performance was so good. I mean, it outlasted the FX series. I remember a mate of mine who bought a 9500 Pro, and I was like, why didn't you just get a 9700 Pro? Like, he could have afforded it, but he's like, why? And I still had my Geforce 4 Ti, and he's just like, trust me, the 9500 is the right choice. And I'm like, really? I didn't know back then, obviously. I didn't read as many reviews as what I did later on. And he's like, yeah, trust me, man, like 9500 is the way to go. I'm like, all right, if you say so. And I remember going to LAN parties, and he just like decimates everyone. Like, because we used to do benchmarking and stuff, like everyone would benchmark, you know, because we used to have like one big LAN a year, and then we had like maybe one or two smaller ones throughout the year, maybe a bit more than that. And so at the end of the year, everyone would be like, oh, what did you upgrade to this year? You know, oh, I got this CPU, oh, I got this motherboard, oh, I got this video card, blah, blah, blah. And then everyone would spend like 3 hours benchmarking and be like, oh, arguing over who had the better choice. And see, I told you should have got that, and blah, blah, blah. And then you had the usual guy that would like try to flog off his gear. But yeah, and then my mate had a 9500 Pro, and it like shit all over everyone, because we were, this is in Tasmania by the way, so this was like, you know, not many people had flagship cards. Most of us were students, so you had the odd parent that would rock up with like their, you know, 3 gigahertz Pentium 4 with a 9700 Pro and be like, this is what a real computer looks like, and we're like, yeah, but you've got a job. We've got Centrelink, which is like a government tax, government income, by the way, if you're not in Australia. Yeah, but like the 9500 was just so good. It's probably one of my biggest regrets, and I'm driving around aimlessly. I just realised I want to go to L. Actually, no, I want to go save quickly. I had the chance to buy a 9500, and even at the time I still wasn't completely convinced, and I ended up, crap, oh god, bail. No, so the XT cards had come out, the 9600s and 9800s had come out, and the 97s and 95s were discounted. Oh, bugger. If that was GTA 5, he would have grabbed the door and rode along with the car and got in. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I had the chance to buy a 9500 Pro and then a really nice 9600 XT was found for a nice price. So I got a 9600 XT instead. And, you know, it pretty much was the same performance, but it made me realise how much nicer the... Oh, I want to save this in the garage. I need to take out this other car. Yeah, it made me realise I shouldn't have struggled with the Geforce 4 for so long. But I was an AMD kid back then, so I had 2600 plus, and then I had 2800 for a very short period of time until I killed it from overclocking, and then I went to the 3200 plus and basically thought, well, I got sick and tired of overclocking and killing hardware. I went through so many kits of RAM. I went through 3 8-bit NF7S's overclocking. I then settled on 8-bit AN7 with the 3200 plus, and that was around the same time as I think the 6 series of NVIDIA cards had just released. So I ended up getting the 6600 GT and then the 6800 shortly after that. But yeah, I killed so many motherboards and RAM because of I mean, I love the overclocking, and I did really well. I think the fastest I got was my 2800 plus on 333 frontside bus. I managed to get it to like 3.3 gigahertz, and that was with like a Thermaltake Volcano heatsink, which is like one of the, it's like very similar to the Thermaltake Silent Boost that you can pretty much buy these days. But I had a 80mm Vantech Tornado 80mm fan on top of it. That was a jet engine that made a 5800 Ultra seem like a whisper quiet kitten. So it was also a finger muncher because it would chop your finger off. It's essentially a Delta fan rebranded to Vantech. It was crazy. But yeah, the main thing that I did that killed the hardware then was I was smart enough and equally stupid enough to buy the OCZ DDR booster. Now, if you don't know what that is, that era of hardware, more, oh god, I've binned it. That era of AMD processors, less so Intel, although technically you could do it on Intel, it was just a bit harder. You could inject voltage through one of the DDR slots. So because the Enforce 2 Ultra chipset usually had 3 slots, So 2 sticks for dual channel, and then you usually end up having a third stick, a third slot on the board. You could use the third slot and inject more DDR voltage directly. Okay, I need to go get a weapon. You could basically just inject voltage directly into the motherboard to increase the overclocking, and that's what the DDR booster did. It had its it basically had an adapter that went between the 20-pin power supply connector and then plugged into the motherboard, and it had 2 Molexes that branched off of the 20-pin and plugged into the back of the DDR booster, and that would basically allow you to go upwards of 4 volts into the RAM. Now, normally, if my memory is correct, and it's probably a bit flaky, standard DDR1, like high performance, like your OCZ or your Corsair stuff, was like 2.5 volts for like the DDR400 stuff. Alright, there's a gun around the back, isn't there? Isn't there like one around here? Yeah, there we go. And pretty much, I mean, so DDR1 400 wasn't the fastest DDR1 speed to actually officially be released. I think 500 and 533 was technically like the last top end stuff that came out, but those kits were stupidly expensive, very, very rare. 433 and 466 were a little bit more common, still more expensive, but realistically you didn't get much more performance out of the general uses other than DDR400. The kit of Gale Golden Dragon RAM that I have here is 433. That stuff is really nice. But for overclocking, you absolutely did. You needed, you were memory bound so hard. A lot of the time, especially in 3D Mark. So yeah, I think I was going through G-Skill and Gale kits. They would last me weeks, and I would just kill them, and then kill the motherboard. So yeah, at that point I did have a job to be able to afford it myself, so it wasn't I was doing what I considered extreme overclocking. Little did I know liquid nitrogen existed and vapor chilling existed even back then, but yeah, I did stupid overclocking stuff. Oh, boom, headshot. And I'm going to take your car just for the fun of it as well. Go away, music. But yeah, after my it also didn't help that my girlfriend at the time, his dad was a massive PC nerd, and he had the 3.4 gig Pentium 4 Northwood with hyperthreading and a 9700 Pro, and so we would always talk shit about each other's systems. And so I'd always, every time I go around to quotation marks see my girlfriend, I would usually spend about an hour to an hour and a half sitting, at the kitchen table chatting with him about shit. So yeah. Yeah, that wasn't great. That relationship didn't last very long, but that's alright. Mostly for other reasons, but anyway. Yeah, then I jumped on the Athlon X2 bandwagon. I grabbed a 3800 plus X2, and I had my 6800 Ultra. No, I didn't. Yes, I had that platform crossover decision. So I had the decision of I had enough money. I had enough money to either buy a 6600 GT cross SLI card. Sorry, PCI Express card. What am I thinking? Yeah, I either had the option to buy a PCI Express, so sell my 3200 plus, my motherboard, my RAM, not my RAM, but just my CPU, motherboard, and AGP 6600 GT. Sell those three things, and then I had enough money to buy a PCI Express 6600 GT, the 3800 plus, and then a PCI Express motherboard if I wanted to, or like a really nice PCI Express like SLI motherboard, or I could buy a 6800 Ultra for about double the price, buy DFI, I think it was the DFI Enforce 3 Ultra D, which is one of the few motherboards I've yet to really find and collect myself. This was the Enforce 3 Ultra chipset, so not the 7541, but the 939 platform that had dual channel support and AGP. So I could buy an AGP 6800 Ultra, or and the 939 and the lower end CPU. So the 3800 plus. I was originally going to buy the 4800 plus. If I went with the other PCI Express option, but I didn't, because my brain went, oh my god, I can buy a flagship GPU if I do this. So that's what I did instead. I bought the 6800 Ultra, the slower CPU, which had half the L2 cache, or L3 cache, I think it is. No, L2 or L3, I can't remember what 939 was. I think it was L2. So it had 512 kilobyte instead of 1 meg per core, 2 gigahertz instead of 2.4. And in theory, I was like, oh, I'll just overclock it. I'm buying a DFI board, I'll just overclock it, that'll work. And I'm driving around aimlessly again, so let's go and do a mission. Sorry. And so that's what I thought I'd do instead. I'm gonna bin it. Yeah, so that was my decision, and I regret it, because not long after, well, I think I had the 6800 Ultra, I had it for 8 months, and then it shit itself. And normally around that time period, I wanted to have my hardware last about 2 years, and usually I'd skip a generation in between, give or take. And so the 68 died, and I was like, oh, this is the really shitty mission. I friggin' hate this one. But oh, good, I grabbed it. Nope, come on. Okay, there we go. Oh god, the timer. Yeah, ended up buying a... oh crap, she is up the top. Ended up buying a Radeon X850 GTO as a sort of get me by alternative, because the 68 died right at a really shitty time, and I couldn't afford to get anything better, and it did okay. Ooh, I don't want to go down there. It did okay, it overclocked alright, so that kind of made up for its lackluster shitty GTO specs. But yeah, it wasn't great. Especially when I had mates at the time that were buying 7800 GTXs and shit, and I was like, rip. But then I ended up overclocking that CPU. I learned a bit more tips about overclocking the Athlon 64 CPUs and I ended up hitting like 2.8 gig on that chip, which was really nice. Got some pretty fast DDR1 with it. Went through a few DDR1 kits again using the DDR booster and then end up swapping finally over to the Intel Core 2 era, because how could you not? AMD was in a bad place when that generation came out. So yeah, so I had an E6600, which I then swapped for an E6850, which I then swapped for a Q6850. Even had a DFI motherboard, P45, actually the same one that I'm selling on eBay at the moment actually. Oh shit, I hit the cop. And there's no way I'm going to be able to get all these people in time. And I had an 8800 GTS 640 meg XFX XXX edition card. That was a good choice. That was a really nice card. Got it off a mate of mine actually. So I got it second hand, but man, it was such a nice card. And that's when COD 4 came out, and I was playing that for a good chunk of time. Oh, come on, man. Out the way. Now, I think I'm going to be better off dropping these two here. Oh, these three, sorry. Oh god, they really put that thing in the wrong place, didn't they? Come on. Come on. Yo, seriously. No, I'm not going to risk it. My car's already going to explode. 30 seconds. Can we do it? Can we do it? Not a chance, right? No way in hell. No way in hell we're making this. Oh. Not happening. This is not happening. 10 seconds, almost. Shit, son. Shit, son. Hey! Genuinely went into that thinking there was no way I was gonna make the timer. Did the stream fail for you guys or something? Oh no. Sorry. I was just watching the live viewer count and it just flatlined to 0 and then spiked back up and I was like, oh, that can't be good. I thought the net might have dropped out or something. Listen, can you give me a feedback on the quality of, and yes, Crisis Era it was, feedback on the quality of the audio and quality of the video, because there are still some settings. So I've got it in OBS as, okay, right, I've got to go and save manually, don't I? Oh god, the rain makes the frame rate tank. Oh, and then the physics go all wonky. Yeah, give me some feedback on what you think of the settings. I've got it at 5,000 kilobytes a second. 5 megasecond. Because when I was doing my Battlefield streaming, I don't think that game's really optimized very well, so it was just not it wasn't handling. I had to drop it down to like 3500, and then it just looked like trash. So hopefully this is not too bad. So for those of you who are not from Australia, I am on potato NBN here in Australia, which is, it's meant to be 100 down, 50 up, but in reality it's 80 down, 35 up, which is not too bad, you know, first world problems and all, but yeah, if you're playing like the Battlefield beta, which has a lot of network traffic, yeah, even 35 was pretty rough. So like trying to stream, I definitely need to sort of do something, optimize the way I set up for Battlefield, but my intention was to have it set up this way for this streaming anyway. So now I've got a question. It's 1:45. My wife just sent me a message on Facebook. Yeah, cool. Done. So I'll probably end the stream in about 15 minutes. It'll be going for a bit over almost 2.5 hours then. So no Google Games streaming for you? Oh yeah, no. Nah, I'm not interested in doing that anyway. So here's my plan here. What I'm going to do, would you prefer to sit here while I talk to you and view the desktop, or do you want me to switch back to system camera? Because maybe there's some people here watching that haven't seen it yet, so maybe I'll swap back over to that view for a little bit. There we go. I'm reorganizing. For those of you who haven't been long-term viewers of mine, I'm in the process of reorganizing my office and stuff here to better suit my busy lifestyle, so that I can basically come home, and if I want to film a video or do some live streaming, which is much easier to do for me, especially given my work hours and the sporadic time and stuff that I have. So I'm trying to also set up a racing rig that is compatible with my retro system, because I'm a big Formula 1 fan, and I have a few Formula 1 games that I've been wanting to play with my... yes, it is a Chief Tech case, by the way. It's the black one that has the nice vents in the front. Unfortunately, if my hand can reach it properly, where are we? Unfortunately, when we moved house, I had an accident, which I'm sure many owners of the Chief Tech case did back in the day, and that is this. That's the front door. It broke off. Fixable, but it did break off. But yeah. Yeah, I've got Colin McRae 2. GP3 is pretty good. Those two, I mean, Colin McRae Rally, I think is probably a little bit... 1 and 2 are probably designed and handle really well with keyboard. Colin McRae Rally 3, however, that's when it had really good wheel support. GP3 is actually probably one of the nicest, oldest games to play. Now, I have an original Logitech Momo steering wheel set that plays very well with, especially this game. So the plan is, I'm setting up my new racing rig that allows me to unplug and plug in, let's say, no, that's probably the wrong word, not plug in, plug out, but hot swap between my modded G27 and my Momo wheel pretty easily, so that I can swap between retro sim racing and iRacing and shit pretty easily. So that's the plan, because I want to be able to live stream some retro sim racing, which I thought would be kind of awesome. Now, on the next stream that I do, probably will be similar time next week. I'm going to probably play some Battlefield 1942 and some other games like that. So that's probably the games. I'm going to fix Colin McRae and fix Duke Nukem 3D. I don't know why that wasn't working tonight. It worked yesterday fine, but anyway. Yeah. For those of you that were just asking in chat about the cooler, yes, it is an Arctic silencer. In fact, why don't I just show you? I didn't even think of that. I can literally just pull it apart and show you, right? Now, if in chat you can tell me what Windows version this sound is from, you get a star, or virtual star, or stream star. Because that's clearly not Windows 98. Okay, I'm going to move away from the microphone for a moment while I take the video card out, eventually when the system turns off. Eventually, when the system... There it goes. Yes, it's called the Arctic Cooling Arctic Silencer. It originally came on a 9800 Pro. Gotta find my screwdriver. Alrighty. Didn't think this through. Now I've got to try and actually unplug it, so I've got to move the system, so bear with me. Christian gets the gold star, or whatever you call it. You are correct, sir. Longhorn closing sound, exit window sound. Okay, so let's see if I can get this out somewhat elegantly. Okay, there we go. It's going to focus. Focus. Oh my god. Also, it's... Yeah, come on. Oh, well, yeah, you get the point. So, I had to... Let me stand back up to the microphone so you can hear me. And move my pop filter back in view. Yes, I had to slightly modify the cooler to get it to fit because the height that the screws screw into it wasn't perfect. So I also had to clear a capacitor on the back side of the card. So I'm using mismatched screws, but it works. I'll show you what it looks like on the back. So you've got screw there and screw there. And that one. Yeah. So that one's up a bit because there's a little SMD right next to the hole. So I've got a solid acrylic washer there to just raise the screw up, but still put an even amount of pressure. But this thing, by the way, is like cold to the touch, and it's running on the low RPM speed, so this thing does not get hot. Also, I had to slightly modify the back panel. It looks like shit, and I did a better job on my Geforce 2 Ti, but I have a different PC, the original PCI bracket for this. I took off because I didn't want to murder that one. So this is a replacement one that I did hack up just so this fits. But check out this. Well, maybe you can't see it too well. Maybe you can see it better that way. Yeah, come on, stay in focus. So along the top lip where the heatsink is, you'll see a lot of indents. Here. So I had to bend that lip up with pliers because it was at a right angle and it was protruding with the cooler. I can get it at the right angle, yeah. So it's like millimeter. Yeah. But I had a few of these spare brackets that matched this card, so I just used one of the older ones to make it work. But this card has heat sinks and everything as well on the RAM, so I can show you what it looks like in good light there. And with all the case cooling that I've got, it's this thing doesn't get hot. The Tualatin, 1400 megahertz CPU with the Cooler Master heatsink that's on it doesn't get hot. Nothing gets hot in this system, which is really good. And it's sitting on the floor, so it gets the cool air anyway. But yeah, let me just read through the comments and see if there's anything that Yes, so the heatsink on the RAM, I had some DDR2 ECC server RAM that had some nice aluminium clip-on heatsinks, and I basically harvested all the heatsinks off of that RAM because that RAM was useless, and to be honest it was selling for like $5 a stick, and so it wasn't worth me keeping it or selling it. It cost more in postage. So yes, I ended up basically just harvesting the heatsinks, and I've got 6 sticks of 512 PC133 that I use in my various SD RAM systems, and that's one of the 512 meg sticks with the heatsinks on it. It gets warmish kind of, but it's more just for the aesthetics. I'm so used to using RAM with heat spreaders on it that, yeah. And to be honest, I think it was the Retro Machines guy. He did a similar thing with ECC RAM, or maybe it was someone else. I can't remember. One of the other, really good retro guys basically were like, well, hey, I've got all this shit, so let's do that. But yeah. So the Geforce 2 Ti is essentially an Ultra, a Geforce 2 Ultra. So the Geforce 2 Ti came out the same generation as the Geforce 3 Ti's. They did a weird thing where they, refreshed the Geforce 2 chip from the 180 nanometer to the 150, and they re-released the Geforce 2 Ultra as a Geforce 2 Ti on the 150 nanometer process. It's essentially a Geforce 2 Ultra. I think there's some minor clock speed differences, but for all intent and purpose, it's the same. And TIs are so much cheaper because they're overlooked. People don't think they're as fast as an Ultra, and collectors go for an Ultra because of what it is. But realistically, if you've got a Geforce 2 Ti, especially a fast one with like nice RAM on it, you're sweet. I got lucky and I got the Hercules Prophet Geforce 2 Ti and GTS. So the GTS is 32 meg, and it's the nice blue one with the longer PCB, and then I have the nice shorter Geforce 2 Ti. Yeah, I think there was some differences with the Ti to help bring the costs down, because it was meant to be. They redid the Geforce 2 to help combat ATI's lower end cards, because even the Geforce 3 Ti was actually still pretty decent, and they needed a lower end card, and they didn't have it, so they just moved over the Geforce 2 architecture and gave it the Ti branding. But it's a very nice Windows 98 card. The Geforce 2 Ti is. I used it for the longest time until I got this Geforce 3. I have a Geforce 3 Ti 500, a reference card, green PCB with the green heat sinks and stuff. Used it for a little bit, but it runs so hot with the reference little aluminium heatsink, and because it's using that pink gummy thermal glue shit, I have not wanted to remove the heatsink or risk removing it and ripping the chip off. So I thought, you know what, I don't need to use this card. I'm just going to put it in my collection and let it collect dust. So hence this card. This card had a broken fan when I bought it on eBay, so it was super cheap, and it was a unique black Geforce 3. So I was like, why not? And it looks really nice. Yeah, so it's been my favorite Windows 98 card, especially with the drivers. So I think I'm using 23. No, I'm not. I'm using 22. 42 dot something at the moment. Ideally, I think 23 point something is the absolute fastest drivers for this Geforce 3, because the 440 drivers came out when the Geforce 4 came out, so it's dropped the Geforce 3 a little bit in performance, but not by much. But there was a big improvement in the actual driver software itself, so they added a lot of extra features and stuff in the 40 series. Compared to the 20s, so I just prefer it because I can do a lot more things with the 40 series than I can with the 20 series drivers. So, thank you very much everyone for watching. It's almost 2.5 hours. I'm pretty tired. I've got work tomorrow, and it is 1 AM. Thankfully I don't start until 11 o'clock, so yeah, my hours are 11 till 7. Pretty nice actually, but yeah. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the first Retro Rocket stream. The idea of this stream, if you haven't read the description of it, is that essentially it's going to be just testing certain hardware on Windows 98, Windows XP. We're just going to chat about it, talk about the different hardware, why I like certain CMN, certain hardware over others, why I've made certain choices and things like that. So yeah, thanks. Hopefully we'll get some good sleep if my son doesn't wake up. He's been pretty good actually. I'm watching him on camera at the moment. I'm not going to show you guys on stream, but we've got a nanny cam basically set up, and I can just watch it on my phone anywhere. So my verdict is this: if you can get a Geforce 3 Ti200 or a Geforce 2 Ti, you're sweet. That's probably my sweet spot for a Windows 98 machine. If you get lucky and find a Ti 4600 or 4400, great. You get that little bit of extra performance with later, or I'd say later, but early 2000s games. but it's way overkill for your 90s games that most people build a 98 system to play. And the pricing is usually much higher for a Geforce 4 card than a Geforce 3 and a Geforce 2. So yeah, I've used that whole range of cards and settled on this Geforce 3 because it just gives me enough performance for later games that I play, but it still runs very well with drivers that handle early games. Bar the issues that I was having with Duke Nukem 3D and stuff, I think the only games I've run into issues with is like Duke Nukem 2. There's some weird glitchy things with that, but like I said, as you can see in the image that you're looking at with the different hard drives, I literally swap up to my GeForce 256 and my Voodoo cards if I want to start playing much earlier DOS games. So yeah. So I don't know what hardware configure I'm going to go with for the next stream. You may see this same system again, but maybe with the Voodoos or something like that. I may switch to a Windows XP and play some, but haven't decided yet. But yeah, thanks very much for watching anyway, guys. I have got some other proper videos in the works, but my schedule at the moment is just so busy that it's so much easier doing live stream stuff at the moment. I've missed doing content greatly, and I finally got my streaming set up enough that I can actually stream with you guys, which is good. So yeah, anyway, thanks for watching. Have a good night. I'm tired as hell. The last comment I'll leave you with is that the FX cards are really good for 98 if you're using like a FX 5200 or something like that, but they are way overkill, and you end up running into some driver issues as well with older games. So yeah, anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one, and I'll see you in the next one, whenever that may be. Probably next week, similar-ish time schedule, I reckon. But yeah, thanks for the stream. I was new to this. This is my first one, so please leave suggestions for things if I'm, something you might want to see, different camera angle or something of the system or whatever. Just feel free to leave me comments, because I'm happy to change things around to make it better. So yeah, thanks very much. Have a good one, guys. Have a good night.